Dexter at its best, I'm talking seasons 1 through 4, was not the absolute pinnacle of television. This is a show about a serial killer who kills other serial killers, and he can get away with it due to his knowledge as a blood spatter analyst for the homicide department. Now, the original show was cheesy at times, a lot of stuff didn't make any sense, Dexter always got bailed out by sheer coincidence, and this is how they decided to portray young Dexter in flashbacks. But despite its flaws, Dexter was always compelling. It was interesting, exciting, had great characters, and you wanted to see what would happen next. In a nutshell, it was good TV. So Showtime, in their infinite wisdom, said, hey, Michael C. Hall is getting kinda old, but we need to cash in on this TV show that people once liked. Let's make a prequel about how Dexter got started. And this is already like a pretty mid idea, but after watching it, I can safely say this is some of the worst nostalgia slop I have ever witnessed. Almost every part of the show is designed to make you do the point at the screen meme. They literally shove anything they can from the original series to make millennial viewers go, oh my gosh, was that Miguel from season 3? Did you see that? And then just in case you didn't see that, they'll put in a line like, who was that? Oh, that was Miguel from season 3. He said he's gonna be DA someday, haha, wink wink. And I'm guessing the test screening audience was like, no way, I remember that. And he does become the DA. This show is so offensive in its sheer lack of substance and creativity that I feel a Dark Passenger type need to go over every part of why it's terrible. And look, because I admit original Dexter wasn't perfect, especially toward the end, I'm not even gonna cover the numerous plot holes, retcons, or timeline inconsistencies that this prequel creates. Those are actually the least offensive things about it.
These are pot brownies? One would have been enough for a good high, but you've had 6?
Dexter, are you smoking something?
No, I've always been curious to try.
Literally unwatchable. Okay, so when you make a prequel, you're already running into the issue that the audience knows who will not die and who could possibly die or at least needs to leave forever because they aren't in the main series. One interesting thing you can do with this is make a character that is so compelling and well written that the audience grows more and more attached to them and terrified that something could happen to them, like Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul. Dexter Original Sin decided not to do this and only add new characters who literally don't do anything and are there for no reason. We have Cop Partner with 2 lines who gets shot and almost dies but then lives. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I don't really know why she's there. She does nothing relevant and has very few lines. Dexter needed a boss, I guess? We have Gay Cop, whose tiny subplot goes absolutely nowhere. We have Captain McDreamy, who is part of the most obvious twist ever and has some of the worst line delivery I've ever heard.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And we also have, oh, that's pretty much it. Yeah, because the goal of this show is just to show you the young versions of established characters with the most boring origins possible. Oh, so that's how LaGuerta joined the police. She just showed up one day. Wow, I'm so glad this information was revealed to me. Oh, that's why Masuka is a pervert, because he was just always like that. Oh, that's why Angel is, there later on, because he's there earlier. None of the new characters matter at all, and none of the original characters show anything new. The other issue with prequel plots is that you can't do anything too crazy, otherwise people will say, why did no one mention this in the original series? Dexter Original Sin solves this by making the captain of the police department try to murder his own son, after already killing another child and hanging them from the overpass. This never came up in the department later. The same department who had a cop get engaged to a serial killer, had an alleged serial killer in their ranks, the DA was a serial killer, a detective was shot by the sister of a serial killer for chasing a real serial killer. Man, what is wrong with this police department? But yeah, mostly I'm like, how did the literal captain being a killer never come up when all they do is deal with killers in the homicide department? Not only that, but Dexter disappears him in the end, so this would be like an open mystery, wouldn't it? Like a legend of the department? The police captain who killed children and then disappeared? All the writers had to do to get around this was invent a new serial killer for Dexter to learn and interact with, and they chose the captain of the police department. Oh, and Dexter's brother, of course. Look, I know that guy, he was in the original series. There's his ice cream truck. I recognize stuff, so it must be good. This show is horrifically miscast beyond the titular character. Patrick Gibson honestly does as good a job as I think someone could, and I say that because I just don't think the idea of a young Dexter really works for a lead character. To me, if you're gonna have a compelling serial killer, they have to be imposing at times, And I just can't get that from such a nice looking young man like Patrick. But he at least did decently. LaGuerta and Masuka did fine too. Now Deb, on the other hand, who you may know as the gangly sister from the original series, is played by the 5'3" Molly Brown. Now you may be like, Killer Whale, that's not fair. You know, the important thing is that she acts like Deb. And I would say, yeah, I agree, except for the fact that she can't act like Deb. In fact, she can barely act in the first place. Or maybe I'm putting the blame on the wrong person and it lies with the writer or director, but oh my goodness, the line delivery by new Deb is awful.
Fuck that. I ain't kissing the ring. Slash a movie night at my place instead?
Hells yeah.
Either give me a lookalike that can't act, or give me a non-lookalike who can act, but please don't give me a random brunette to poorly play the second most important character in the show. I'm pretty sure the writers thought Deb's only defining characteristic was that she swears a lot.
Fuck me, fuck me.
She carries over almost no traits from the original series. She doesn't work hard, she's not really smart, she does have questionable dating taste, I'll give him that one. And she also does the biggest pet peeve of mine, which is to call her brother every 5 minutes to remind the audience that yes, they are still siblings.
My brother, Dexter, he's my brother. For once, it actually feels like we're brother and sister.
Deb is given a ton of screen time in this series, so I asked myself, what did they really reveal about her here? Well, they do make it pretty clear that she hates her dad and what his job as a cop has done to their family since they argue in almost every scene. So the motivation to suddenly follow in his footsteps and become a cop while he's still alive in the season finale makes no sense at all. I could at least understand a, oh no, he died, I'll carry on his work to stay close to Dexter type sentiment, which is what they imply in the original series, but nope, it's just a full 180. Hey, I signed up to be just like you, despite none of the reasons for us fighting all season being addressed at all. Speaking of the dad, he is played by Christian Slater, who again is a miscast just on looks. The original dad has like a kind, trustworthy dad face, whereas Slater always looks like he's up to something evil. He's got these evil, hawkish eyes, man. Like, I'm sorry, Christian, but I just cannot buy that you love your kids at all. Somehow he is always too busy for them while simultaneously not working on any important cases. What did he do at all in the kidnapped kids investigation that apparently the whole office was working on? Oh, he ignored Dexter when he told him who the killer was. That's some strong police work right there. Good dad, don't even hear out your serial killer son who has compelling evidence to support his case. He also completely fumbled the serial killer case involving Brian, including suppressing evidence and managing to not arrest him while holding him at gunpoint. This is after fumbling a case earlier in the season and following that up by trying to drunkenly shoot the suspect before his own son knocks him out. And I do understand that the dad we saw in the original Dexter was mostly an extension of Dexter's conscience, and that this prequel could be trying to show that Dexter was actually an unreliable narrator when it came to his demeanor. Two problems with that. Firstly, Hallucination Dad only shows up later in the original series. In the first few seasons, he's shown only in flashbacks, which I assume were to show a character that actually existed outside of Dexter's mind. The other problem is that everything else in the show is so badly written that it's hard for me to believe that the writers could even be capable of conceiving this narrative. The miscasting only hurts this. I just can't buy Slater as the father who got drunk, watched his own son drown, and swore to never lose his children again. Except for when he gets drunk and tries to shoot some guy, not worrying about the fact that both his kids would then be without a father if he succeeded. He literally does not care about them at all, completely ignoring his daughter and teaching his adopted son to be a professional serial killer. And by teaching, I mean just telling him to go murder people. There's no actual teaching of the process. Every single heartfelt moment between the family members falls so flat because these three just have zero chemistry. And because of those evil eyes, man. You telling me this guy loves his kids? What the hell? Okay, some others. We got Captain McDreamy, the child killer. This dude phoned it in so hard. If Deb is like a bad soap opera actress, then this guy is like straight out of a high school drama class. Listen to this line delivery between him and Papa Dexter.
Sergeant Morgan.
Captain Spencer.
What the fuck? Who the fuck?
That's like the first scene. It doesn't get any better. Aw, they kidnapped my son in broad daylight? Gosh dang it, that makes me upset. Trapped by a serial killer?
I am one of the good guys!
His villainous motivation makes zero sense too. You tortured and killed a judge's kid and hung him from a bridge and then kidnapped your own son and cut off his finger because you were mad at your ex-wife?
She betrayed me.
You did all this to hurt your ex-wife?
Even Dexter can't believe it. What motivation could you possibly have for killing the first kid? And don't say to pin it on the cartel. That's an okay reason to not get caught, but it still requires an otherwise normal police captain to kill a random child just to create a narrative for the real kidnapping? What the fuck is this guy's problem?
I've known Spencer forever. Never in a million years could I ever have imagined he'd be capable of killing a child or torturing his own son.
So many characters' motivations make no sense if you ask the most basic of questions. Why does Deb give up a scholarship to play volleyball in order to pursue a career she hates her dad for having? Why does their mom want to adopt the 2 sons of the woman her husband was having an affair with?
These boys need a mother.
Oh, okay, except then she sends away Brian instantly. He doesn't need a mother because he's a little asshole. Why does Brian give up on contacting Dexter for 15 years just because of some shit the dad says? Oh, I'm getting into timeline retcons. I said I wouldn't talk about that. I'm sorry, I'm just getting sidetracked because there's so many bad things to mention. Let's get back to the actors. Sarah Michelle Gellar, no big lines, no real teaching either. They're immediately like, wow, Dexter's a prodigy intern, so she's not there to serve as his mentor or anything. She mostly just kind of exists, so I don't know why they got a big name for this character. Masuka could have covered everything she does. Gay cop is a weird subplot too. Basically, Dexter sees him at a gay bar back in 1991 and doesn't care because he has no social context. The guy shows up a few more times and finally Dexter gives blood for him to cover up the fact that gay cop can't because he's waiting on HIV tests. Look, I wouldn't accuse Original Sin of being woke at all, whatever that word even means in 2025. I just don't know what the writers wanted me to get out of this. Oh, Dexter's psychopathy actually has benefits. He's not prejudiced against gay people. Maybe we treat serial killers too harshly. They actually have some great qualities. Let's get to another useless character. Deb's friend, who serves as Dexter's first romance for some reason. He really didn't need this since he starts the original show incredibly awkward and asexual with Rita, which you kinda assume is his first attempt at a relationship, one that he only acquired to blend in better. The plotline in the prequel is that he learns from a serial killer that helping your girl throw darts will get you a blowjob in the bathroom. So he helps his girlfriend with darts and immediately gets a blowjob in the bathroom. Yes, that is actually what happens. This is such a ham-fisted delivery of Dexter learning to mask from other killers, just like he does in the original series. If anything, this puts him too far ahead in relationship knowledge to still be struggling with Rita almost 15 years later. Why does this man get random blowjobs so often? I don't know, but that's basically all Deb's friend exists for. I couldn't tell you any other character traits about her or even her name beyond Deb's friend. All I know is that I was not pointing at the screen when she was on it, and that make me mad. Now you might think I would criticize this by saying, as an editor myself, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I have no idea how to edit film and TV beyond the most basic storytelling ideas. And I know this because whenever I look up a movie after watching it and see people criticize the editing, I'm like, wow, I really didn't notice that. So when I do notice bad editing, I can be assured that it is truly awful. Let me just put out a scene as shown in its full glory, Deb having a breakdown at the table. I have not touched this footage. What are the editors doing here, man? Let the emotional scene play out. I feel like they're just like distracting from Deb's performance with this super cheap effect. So much of this show looks like a 13-year-old got his hands on a copy of iMovie. We're doing zoom transitions? This ain't a Mr. Beast video, bro, calm down. They speed ramp into every establishing shot and the feeling is always so cheap. Everything makes this show feel like it's a fake TV show that exists in another TV show. Combine this with the most pointless needle drops of random 90s songs, and it's like they were trying as hard as they could to break you out of your immersion at every part of the show. Look, we're panning over bedrooms and Dexter is secretly plotting his next kill. Maybe a quiet and moody song? Nope, it's Alice in Chains. Dexter has to clean up a crime scene in 15 minutes before the police get there. Dude, what if he was doing it to Motley Crue? Dexter finds out the earrings he kept as a reminder of his first kill were given to Deb's friend. Alexa, play Unbelievable because that's how the audience should feel. And then Deb's friend is like, oh my gosh, was he talking about me? I love introverted weirdos. And Deb is like, dance party. A lot of the editing also breaks your immersion by making you laugh. Hold on, we need to show that Papa Dexter remembers what Brian is like as a child. A quick flash of him maybe? Or we could morph him into one right then and there. This is like one step above the water boy imagining other players as his bully. We need to show time passing in the mental hospital. Morph him into an adult. You might be like, Killer Whale, they're just innovating. Dude, you can show time passing in so many different ways that aren't making an Animorphs cover. Dexter, meanwhile, is hitting like 3 cross dissolves in 5 seconds. They constantly break from moments where something is actually happening to something incredibly boring. Dexter's getting attacked by a horse. Oh no, cut to Deb standing there motionless, please. Oh wait, she's dialing a phone number. Something's happening, cut back to the horse attack. You might think, oh, she's calling Dexter. The phone ringing will have some effect on his scene. Nope, it was just her boyfriend. How about Dexter trailing the suspected child murderer? He finally knows who the bad guy is. He's following close. Where is he going? Let's cut to speed ramps of Deb and her stupid boyfriend's boat where nothing happens. Do you want to know how this all-important boyfriend storyline ends?
Don't fucking touch me, asshole.
That's it. Yep, they break up. Thank goodness we spent like half the screen time on them. The editing, the pacing, the writing, I'm telling you, it's absolute garbage. The flashback color grading is terrible. The bite sound effect in the intro, I don't know what they were going for there. I think a direct comparison shows how different the tone is from the original.
It was messier than I anticipated. It's still a special day.
For the kill!
They almost had me actually feeling for one of the victims in this show, thanks to finally letting the actress act during the scene. But then of course they have to ruin it with a terrible one-liner.
You promised me you wouldn't separate me and Dexter, but you did. So now I'm gonna separate you.
Surely other people noticed how cheesy this whole show was, right? One Redditor takes a bold stance. I hated the scene of Deb crying alone at the table. 15 downvotes, bitch. That's what a lack of comprehension will do to you, buddy. So when you make a prequel, you still have to show the audience something new. Even the Star Wars prequels did that. The writers of the show seemingly compiled a list of questions that viewers might have for a prequel and gave them the most boring answer possible. Why does Dexter dump bodies in the ocean? I don't know, he tried a swamp and it didn't work. Why did he take a job as a blood spatter analyst? He walked by a booth at a career fair. Where did he get his boat? The donut lady gave it to him. Why does he use a tranquilizer? Because punching people isn't reliable. Man, now I'm realizing how boring even the questions are, and that's because they don't really need to be answered. If the answer is something that anyone could come up with as the most simple solution, you probably don't need an entire prequel series for it. Hey, why does Dexter bring donuts into the office? Oh, maybe he tried it with a veggie tray and it didn't go over well. Wow, thank goodness that question was answered. How could I have lived this long without knowing the origins of Dexter bringing donuts into the office? Week after week, the show just answered the most boring questions possible while moving the main plot ahead at a snail's pace. Entire plot lines just came and went without any real reason for them. When they did the quote-unquote exciting stuff like kills, there was always one of two problems. Nothing new or something stupid. The first lady kill, and really the whole first episode, is recapping a flashback we already saw in the original series. Nothing new. The second guy, Dexter, tortures and kills in a giant empty arena. What happened to don't get caught? Isn't that like the #1 rule? Stupid. The third guy actually develops Dexter by showing him that he needs a stronger sedative than just bonking someone over the head. But it also could have been avoided if Dexter didn't do this for no reason.
Not the Clapton!
If you were gonna smash the guitar anyway and not listen to the guy, why not do it over his head? Stupid. The fourth killer is like, "You're just like me, Dexter," you know, something we've seen multiple victims in the main series say.
You can't control the demon inside of you any more than I could control mine.
Nothing new. You might say, hey, he learned something with each one, that's character development. But then we finally get to the police captain who is just casually dismembered on someone else's boat and thrown into the ocean. Just hose that shit off, dude. Don't worry about the plastic wrap or getting caught or being covered in blood when you get back. It's not like being careful is a staple of your character and a huge reason why you get away with what you do for so long. So wait, Killer Whale, why did you watch it if it was so bad? I don't know, because I'm just a dirty slop consumer, I guess. I couldn't take my eyes off this train wreck and I kept thinking that they would somehow stick the landing somewhere. How did they do that? Family dance party, of course. But oh no, Brian is still watching them. You just keep doing that for 15 years, buddy, and then you can be thwarted in like 10 minutes during Dexter season 1. Look, I'm not saying you're an idiot if you enjoyed this show. I mean, I watched the whole thing too. But this show is written for the absolute bottom of the IQ curve. Let's look at the reveal of the main bad guy of the season, who killed a random kid and then kidnapped his own kid with plans to kill him too. First of all, when you actually see him as the attacker, you can immediately tell from the grunts that it's Patrick Dempsey. As soon as it happened, my wife and I looked at each other and were like, oh, that was the captain, right? The next time they hint at it is when Sarah Michelle Gellar says that the killer knew everything about the house. The actual reveal is when Dexter notices that the first kid's finger has no hesitation cut, while the captain's kid does. Here's how they do that.
this severed body part.
A hesitation cut. No hesitation cut on Jimmy's finger.
At this point, I feel like the viewer can put it all together, but I guess I'm massively overestimating the test audiences. So next they have the captain sitting at Dexter's desk looking at the evidence, something the captain never does. Dexter notices a cut on his arm that appeared at the same time that Dexter found the killer's blood on the finger box. The captain says, "Come directly to me with any new evidence," and Dexter finally realizes that it's him. Smash cut to the blood on the box, then the finger comparison from 10 minutes ago, then the arm bandage from 5 seconds ago. Okay, now we all know it's the captain, right? Not yet. Dexter, check the blood results. Dexter, go look at the blood slide. Do we all know now? Surely we all know now. No, actually, the next scene we have to show the captain buying the same Lunchables that the kid was seen eating earlier with a big musical stinger.
My kid loves them.
Okay, but now surely we all know he's the bad guy, right? No, actually, the first scene of the next episode has him taking off the mask with another big stinger. At this point, I'm assuming the stupidest audience member's mouth drops open in awe, having missed the last 8 reveals. Although this is an egregious example, variants of this happen throughout the entire show. This episode opens with Brian Moser, who is clearly stated by name as Brian.
Brian.
We've been following him for the last 4 or so episodes, and he's the main focus of season 1 of the original series. In the next scene, LaGuerta's like, "Who is Brian Moser?" And we have to flash back to an image of him from the previous scene that was like 2 minutes ago.
Who was Brian Moser?
Now, why is this an actual problem? For one, it wastes a ton of screen time that could be devoted to actual character or plot development. 2, it breaks immersion by constantly making me say, do the writers think I have brain damage? But 3, it's confirmation that entertainment is being actively dumbed down to account for a stupider viewer base. With the rise of streaming over the last decade, companies now know that people like to just have stuff on as background noise, and if they can't understand it that way, then they'll just put on something that they can understand, like a 9th rewatch of The Office. According to a recent article, a common note from executives is to have this character announce what they're doing so that viewers who have this program on in the background can follow along.
Doesn't match the blood inside. Small hesitation cut on Nikki's finger, but not on Jimmy Powell's. Someone who feels some kind of connection to Nikki.
So I guess the 5th reveal of our killer is for the guy who just now looked up from his phone, not the actively watching fan who is wondering why they keep adding stingers for something they already know. I just can't believe we've purposefully gone away from show, don't tell in a visual medium.
You can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry.
But since this is getting away from the point of the video, I'll just write up a short manifesto of why this sucks, and you can pause on it if you actually want to read it. Okay, well, I said a lot of negatives, so what does this show actually have going for it? First and foremost is that they humanized Laura Moser. I always thought they kind of just glanced over the woman that was brutally killed by a chainsaw in the original series, so it was nice to have a character develop that you were like, oh dang, I kind of don't want her to die a brutal death by chainsaw. Brittany Allen does a good job bringing some life to her, and even though I hated the colors they chose for the flashbacks, I didn't feel like they were wasted screen time like so many other characters. We also have, yeah, I guess that's about it for the good. The show is just not very good. I could try and pick out a few things that I thought were decent, like the parallel of Dexter saving a drowning kid where his dad failed to, but with how much crap surrounds these moments, they end up feeling like cheap imitations of something a real storyteller might do. It kind of feels like the gay cop subplot where I'm like, why do you need to show that Dexter has like this heart of gold? I found him much more interesting in the original series where his psychopathy ends up ruining the lives of pretty much everyone he interacts with. They completely removed the anti from anti-hero. This dude kills bad guys, respects women and children, doesn't discriminate, rescues kids. There is never a single moment to challenge the viewer, to make them say, holy shit Dexter, what the hell is wrong with you, like there was in the original series. So wait a minute, Killer Whale, I'm hearing an awful lot of complaining with no real solutions. What do you think would have made this show worthwhile? Alright, hypothetical commenter I made up, I'll take my best shot at it just for you. Let's look again at a successful prequel, Better Call Saul. We leave Breaking Bad knowing Saul Goodman as a side character, the scummy criminal lawyer who ran Walt's meth money laundering. But when we start Better Call Saul, we see him as a hardworking public defender with the name James McGill. This immediately opens up so many questions to be answered, so many new characters to explore and plot lines to write. And sure, you can put in a few bits of fan service and characters for the audience to point at. It's a prequel after all, but expand on them, teach us new things about why they are the way they are. So if I were to take a stab at a Dexter prequel, I don't think I'd feature Dexter much at all. He's got 9 full seasons already. What about Dokes? What about LaGuerta or Captain Matthews, the Trinity Killer, or even just moron Harry Morgan? I mean, I even said his flashbacks with Laura were the only interesting part of the whole show. What kind of events would have to happen in this guy's life and career to enable him to not only decide to teach his son to be a killer, but to excel at it? But that kind of show would need actual writers who have more interesting questions than, where did Dexter get his boat? And I know, there are plenty of not good shows out there that aren't even worth commenting on, but what really pushed me over the edge is that every post-episode discussion thread on Reddit was just praising this show. That's right, Redditors made me make this video. They said it's a top 4 season. I had to scroll all the way to the bottom just for 2 downvoted comments that were like, wow, this show is total ass, I wasted my time with it. It's slop. It's just nostalgia slop all the way through, and the worst part is that this apparently works. After seeing non-stop praise on Reddit, I checked IMDb. Well, of course they love it. I mean, they love everything. What about YouTube? Those commenters are vicious. Oh no, they love it too. The music and Michael C. Hall are so nostalgic. No, please, Rotten Tomatoes, save me. Oh wait, I forgot how Rotten Tomatoes works. Thank you, top critic Allison Herman, for convincing me I'm not crazy. I mean, even the good reviews say it's bad. There are no surprises or revelations here, just comfort of the familiar. Isn't exactly breaking new ground. Overstuffed and uninsightful. Back in my day, we just called that bad, but I guess that's where the bar is at now. The lowest common denominator is the target audience, wasting a great opportunity to give a great idea the story it deserves. I guess that's what annoys me the most, the waste of potential. Dexter as a character really has so much depth to explore, and both shows just never really committed to it. We all lowered the bar as the original show got worse and worse, and now we're just happy to get anything at all, including nostalgia slop. If I was trying to look at the bright side, I would say, hey, at least people came together and made this. You know, even a bad show made by humans is better than the AI-generated slop that's already infesting YouTube. But after a quick search, I found out we're already cheering on that inevitability. A YouTube channel specializing in AI deepfakes digitally replaced Molly Brown's face with Jennifer Carpenter's, to the absolute glee of the entire comment section. Wow, she fits so perfectly, perfect casting. When you put someone's literal face on an actor, it reminds me of them. Again, I feel like I'm going crazy. When I watched the video, all it showed me was what Jennifer Carpenter might be like if she couldn't act for shit.
We both know that you're gonna say no, I'm gonna go anyway, and the world isn't gonna end, so...
I think fans of the show might be idiots. Molly Brown, I may not have enjoyed your performance, but I promise you I don't condone this bullshit. And you know where I found this video? On an AI-generated article, complete with its overly verbose corporate speak and obsession with making numbered lists. I don't know if a single phrase has done more damage to entertainment quality than let people enjoy things, because at this point the bar is buried 6 feet underground. Even the man who coined the phrase published an updated comic featuring himself murdering the original panel. I'm guessing he came to the same conclusion I did while reading discussion threads about this show, that I am already wildly outnumbered and soon, slop will consume us all. Everybody is just licking it up, and you know what? Screw it, I'm just gonna join them. I'll be like, whenever stuff happens that I remember, and when Dexter kills a guy in the middle of a sports arena, I'll be like, woo, Dexter! And when Deb says, you're my brother, Dexter, I'll be like, that's right, they are brother and sister. And every time I get confused, Michael C. Hall will tell me what's happening in the voiceover, or they can do a flashback of something that happened 5 minutes ago. Oh my gosh, slice of pie is the boat? Wow, so many references. That's what makes a show good, is references to a better show. I love slop. Let me slop it up. Slop up that nostalgia for me, boys. I remember things that happened.